नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानजानशालाकस्य चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते जयपताक स्वामिनिति नाम्ने नमाचार्यपदाय निताय कृपप्रदायिने गौरकथा दामदाय नगर ग्राम तारिणे नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्ण प्रस्ताय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामिनिति नाम्ने नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधार शिवासदि घोर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा. So we're going to start the 9th chapter, which is called after attaining the supreme, the most confidential knowledge. So confidential means it's written, Krishna has spoken in front of everyone. So how is it confidential? Because not everyone can understand it. That's why. Even whatever Krishna says, unless we love Krishna and we become close to him, we cannot understand it. Text 1. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Idam tu te guhyatamam pravakshyami anusuyave jnanam vijnanam sahitam yajñatva mokshase shubhat. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, my dear Arjuna, because you're never envious of me, I shall impart to you this most confidential knowledge and realization, knowing which you shall be relieved of the miseries of material existence. So he is saying, what is the quality required for Krishna to reveal this to Arjuna? What is that confidential knowledge? Pure devotional service to Krishna. So naturally, he is telling him because he is non-envious. Will you tell somebody who's envious of you all your secrets? Will not say. So because Arjuna loves him, he is not envious of him. So that I shall impart to you this most confidential knowledge and realization, knowing which you shall be relieved of the miseries of material existence. Purport. As a devotee hears more and more about the Supreme Lord, he becomes enlightened. This hearing process is recommended in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay, so the devotees are constantly engaged in the Supreme Lord's service. So this is what devotees, even for a moment, they will not become lazy and say, oh, enough, I've done enough, let me relax, let me put up my feet, and of course devotees take rest, but it is just so that they can continue. It's not that now, oh, I need a break, 1 month away from doing devotional service, or weekend, I want to be off. It's not like that. The devotees are constantly engaged in the Supreme Lord service, because that is the excitement, because the soul is constantly engaged in service. Actually, the soul doesn't require any sleep or anything like that, but still there is the leela of sleep and all that, even in the spiritual world. And of course, here in our material body, we require sleep, otherwise the body will not function. Devotees are constantly engaged in the Supreme Lord service. The Lord understands the mentality and sincerity of a particular living entity who's engaged in Krishna consciousness and gives them the intelligence to understand the science of Krishna in the association of devotees. Discussion of Krishna is very potent. And if a fortunate person has such association and tries to assimilate the knowledge, then he will surely make advancements towards spiritual realization. So in order to understand this knowledge, we need the association of devotees, and we need to engage in service along with them. And we need to get realizations from within. Then only you can understand. It's not like academic knowledge, you just hear it. It remains only in theory. Even for material knowledge, once you get a degree, then they always see what's your experience, right? So that's very important. So the experience of serving Krishna is the greatest thing in our favor, because through that we can we can attain Krishna and we can be in touch with him. We can satisfy him. So devotional service, most confidential knowledge. That's what we'll see the summary after we do the first verse. And discussion of Krishna is very potent. And if a fortunate person has such association and tries to assimilate the knowledge, then he'll surely make advancement towards spiritual realization. Because the quality of Krishna is such, he is very potent. And so if we hear about him in the association of devotees and try to assimilate this knowledge, will definitely make advancement towards spiritual realization. Lord Krishna, in order to encourage Arjuna to higher and higher elevation in his potent service, describes in this 9th chapter matters more confidential than any he has already disclosed. So, what has he told so far? In the 2nd and 3rd chapters, the spiritual knowledge described is called confidential. Topics described in the 7th and 8th chapters are specifically related to devotional service. And because they bring enlightenment in Krishna consciousness, they are called more confidential. But the matters which are described in the 9th chapter deal with unalloyed, pure devotion. Therefore, this is called the most confidential. So everything is confidential about Krishna. To know him itself is something very special. It's not ordinary. So first, it can happen only through spiritual progress. So in the 2nd and 3rd chapters, spiritual knowledge is described how we can get this knowledge by working without expectations of results in a detached way. 7th and 8th chapters are specifically related to devotional service. And so they are considered more confidential. But here it is talking about unalloyed, pure devotion. Therefore, it's called the most confidential. So anyone who's situated in the conditional state of material existence, who, although one has a sincere desire to render loving service to the Supreme Lord, is situated in the conditional state of material existence, is to be considered liberated. That means we are, suppose we are in the conditioned state. That means we are within the family and we are taking a job, we're doing all these things. But within our hearts, we have a deep desire to serve Krishna. Then definitely we are liberated. Because similarly, we shall find in the Bhagavad Gita 10th chapter that anyone who's engaged in that way is a liberated person. So here it is saying how to do pure devotional service. Prabhupada is saying 9 different ways: Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, Vandanam, Archanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmanivedanam. So, by the practice of these 9 elements of devotional service, one is elevated to spiritual consciousness or Krishna consciousness. When one's heart is thus cleared of material contamination, one can understand the science of Krishna. Simply to understand that living entity is not material is not sufficient. That may be the beginning of spiritual realization, but one should recognize the difference between the activities of the body and the spiritual activities of one who understands that he is not the body. So now in the 9th chapter, the glories of the Lord will be delineated. So Anasuya way, he is saying that is Anasuya means one without envy. So most of the commentators of Bhagavad Gita are highly scholarly, but they're all envious of Krishna. So because they write very inaccurately, they don't say exactly what Krishna is saying. They always try to interpret. And because they're envious of Krishna, their commentaries are useless. The commentaries given by devotees of Lord are bona fide. One who criticizes the character of Krishna without knowing him is a fool. So such commentaries should be very carefully avoided. For one who understands that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the pure and transcendental personality, these chapters will be very beneficial. So that is why they say that they are envious. First of all, they criticize Krishna, and then they don't have faith. They try to twist his words. They don't have faith in his words. If you think that you know better and then he's made some mistakes, then What does that mean? You don't really think much highly of Krishna, and you don't take him as the absolute person and all that. So that is envy. You think you are absolute, you know better. So that is envy. So in 9.5, we see devotional service is the most confidential knowledge. It's a practical science, consists of ninefold activities. See, in this verse, he says, I shall impart to you this most confidential knowledge and realization. So, and it is, Prabhupada explains that it is a practical science, consists of ninefold activities. It can be understood by a non-envious person. To hear knowledge of Krishna from realized devotees. Krishna sees sincerity and blesses with understanding. This is the essence. So how, so it is a question of the heart. We have to work on the heart. We have to rid itself of all envy of Krishna. Why he is the only enjoyer, why he is only the controller, why he is only attracting everyone. So all these kind of envious thoughts have to be removed because it's there. That is why we've forgotten Krishna for how many lifetimes. We didn't even know that Krishna is the supreme person, and we're going around thinking, whatever my life in which I want to dominate, that's everything. And we get either pleasure out of it or pain out of it, and sometimes happy, sometimes sad. This is how we've been just wandering around in different places and different situations, forms, bodies, relationships. And now, because somehow Krishna has given us the chance to be with devotees, and we can read the Bhagavad Gita and know about this, because Prabhupada's book is so potent. He just quotes Krishna. He never changes anything. He doesn't say, actually Krishna, what he means. No. He always says, this is what Krishna says, and that is how we accept it. And that is why it touches our heart. Prabhupada's commentaries. And it's very practical, can be understood by a non-envious person. And to hear knowledge of Krishna from realized devotees. Those who realized means who are who have complete faith and are living by it. Krishna sees sincerity and blesses with understanding. So that is another thing, that Krishna gives the understanding if he sees that we are sincere. 9.2. Rajavidya Rajaguhyam Pavitram Idamuttamam Pratyakshavaghamam Dharmyam Susukam Kartumavyayam. So Rajavidya means this knowledge is the king of education. Rajaguhyam, the most secret of all secrets. Pavitram is the purest knowledge. Idam Uttamam is the topmost. And Pratyaksha means it gives direct direct perception of the self by realization. And then, so that's what Uttamam. So here he's saying it is the perfection of religion. And Pratyaksha Dharmyam Susukam, it is joyfully performed. And Avyayam, it is everlasting. It is everlasting and it is joyfully performed. So this is what is devotional service? Pure devotional, this knowledge which is being described here, pure bhakti, is the king of education, topmost, most secret of all secrets. Because not everyone can understand what are they talking about, connecting everything with Krishna, doing with devotion. People will not be able to understand until they come and associate with devotees, they render service to Krishna, then with purification they can understand, not otherwise. So it is the secret of all secrets. It is the purest knowledge. And because it gives direct perception of the self by realization, so it's very practical. It's not that something it's just going about above your head and it's all abstract. No, it can be understood just by practically doing things, like the 9 different ways of bhakti. And it's the perfection of religion, because Krishna says, Vedescha sarve ahameva vedya. The purpose of the Vedas is to understand Krishna. That's the purpose. So bhakti is the perfection of religion. It is pratyaksha bhagavamam dharmyam. So it's the perfection of religion. It is everlasting, abhyayam, and it's joyfully performed. Susukam. And so, um, Prabhupada is saying, it is called the king of education because it's the essence of all doctrines and philosophies, essence of all Vedic knowledge. So there are, and then Prabhupada explains, there are many philosophers in India, and they are Gautama, Kanada, Kapila, Yajnavalkya, Chandilya, and Vaishvanara. So they have written different philosophies. Like Gautama has written about Nyaya Shastra, Kanada, Kapila is given Sankhya Yoga. Then there is okay, here Patanjali is not mentioned. Different philosophers among the principal philosophers in India. So they are all some of the principal philosophers. And finally, there is Vyasadeva, the author of the Vedanta Sutra. So there is no dearth of knowledge in the field of philosophy or transcendental knowledge. Now the Lord says that this 9th chapter is the king of all such knowledge, the essence of all knowledge that can be derived from the study of the Vedas and the different kinds of philosophy. Is the most confidential because confidential or transcendental knowledge involves understanding the difference between the soul and the body. And the king of all confidential knowledge culminates in devotional service. So first thing is, why is it called king of education? Because among all the philosophies and doctrines that is existent, it is the essence of everything. So if you understand Bhagavad Gita, if you understand Bhagavad Gita, you can understand all philosophy. So that is why Prabhupada, he wanted to write a book for the Western philosophers, so that to attract them to come to Krishna consciousness and tell them what are the flaws in their philosophies, because there are so many, right? Even Western philosophers, there's Jean-Paul Sartre, and we have even ancient Greek, Aristotle, Plato, all these are philosophers. Now, Prabhupada didn't know details of what they've spoken, but he asked his Western devotee who had studied that. So he said, okay, tell me what is their philosophy? So he'll explain something, and then Prabhupada will say what is wrong in that. So based on all this, they have written a book also. So like that, if you know Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, you can know, it's the essence of all philosophy. So any philosophy anybody says, you can understand that. And you can also tell what is the shortcoming in that, and how bhakti is the complete knowledge. It's the essence. That's why it's called Rajavidya, king of all knowledge. And confidential knowledge. People are not educated in this confidential knowledge. They're educated in external knowledge. So people are involved with so many departments: politics, sociology, physics, chemistry, mathematics, astronomy, engineering, etc. So all over the world, we have big universities, but there is unfortunately no university or educational institution where the science of the spirit soul is instructed. Yet the soul is the most important part of the body. Without the presence of the soul, the body has no value. Still, people are placing great stress on the bodily necessities of life, not caring for the vital soul. So we have, Sridevi, the actress, right? She is very, very popular, very beautiful, very charming, very good actress. And then what happened? Once she died, what was that body worth? Immediately it was just taken for burning. That is the worth of the body. Without the soul, the body has no worth. Maybe if the body was sold to the laboratory, they will pay some few hundred rupees for the bones, the whatever, all the skeleton and all that. They can hang it, no, in a laboratory, and something like that's all. They'll pay you a few hundred rupees. That's all is the worth of the body. And if all the worth of the body is got by the soul, the soul is the most important part of the body, but we don't know anything about it. And how we can think we are very learned, isn't it? I mean, so we're all one of those fortunate persons. Yes, definitely. The Bhagavad Gita, especially from the second chapter on, stresses the importance of the soul. The soul is not perishable. That is a confidential part of knowledge. Simply knowing that the spirit soul is different from this body and that his nature is immutable, indestructible, and eternal. But that gives no positive information about the soul. Sometimes people are under the impression that the soul is different from the body, and that when the body is finished or one is liberated from the body, the soul remains in void and becomes impersonal. But actually, that is not the fact. How can the soul, which is so active within this body, be inactive after being liberated from this body? It is always active. So all our action, comes from actually the soul, because the soul is very, very active. That is why in the mode of goodness, ah, in the mode of goodness, when the soul is much more active and we are very, very alert, we sleep less and all that. Even while sleeping, a person in the mode of goodness, he sleeps very lightly, and he can be woken up, not like somebody who's so sleeping deep sleep and then you have to really shake them up like Kumbhakarna. It's not like that, but still, so a person is very active like that. So the soul, we can see that the more you know that you're a soul, you're very active. Even within the body, you can see the nature of the soul. So how can it be that after it becomes liberated and it's only soul, no body, how is it that it will like to be just stationary in one place, like in a Brahman, without any activity, nothing? Aham Brahmasmi, just saying that it's happy. How can it be? How can the soul, which is so active within this body, be inactive? After being liberated from the body, it's always active. If it is eternal, then it is eternally active. And its activities in the spiritual kingdom are the most confidential part of spiritual knowledge. These activities of the spirit soul are therefore indicated here as constituting the king of all knowledge, the most confidential part of all knowledge. Because in the material world, because we have this material body, we become tired, right? If we work very hard, then at the end of the day, we need sleep. But the soul does not need any sleep at all. It's always active. There is no tiredness, nothing. All the wear and tear happens in the body, not in the soul. So that is why it is a king of knowledge, to know not only about the soul, that it is imperishable, it is eternal. That is one part. But what are the activities of the soul in the spiritual world? That is very confidential. Who knows about it? You ask anybody, nobody knows. Where is the spiritual world? How does God look? What do they do over there? What will I do if I go there? Nobody knows. They think it must be very boring, because if it is just soul and you simply have to be like that, oh, boring. No, I don't want to go there. So they don't know. That's why it's very confidential. This knowledge is the purest form of all activities as explained in Vedic literature. Man's sinful activities have been analyzed and are shown to be the results of sin after sin. Those who are engaged in fruitive activities are entangled in different stages and forms of sinful reactions. So we're manifesting different stages of the seeds of a sin which are there. For instance, when the seed of a particular tree is sown, the tree does not appear immediately to grow. It takes some time. It is first a small sprouting plant. Then it assumes the form of a tree. Then it flowers and bears fruit. And when it is complete, the flowers and fruit are enjoyed by persons who have sown the seed of the tree. Similarly, a man performs a sinful act And like a seed, it takes times to fructify. There are different stages. The sinful action may have already stopped within the individual, but the results or the fruit of that sinful action are still to be enjoyed. There are sins which are still in the form of a seed, and there are others which are already fructified and are giving us fruit, which we are enjoying as distress and pain. So so that is why we think, oh, why are bad people enjoying themselves? And we get very disturbed. Oh, there is no justice and so on. What is Krishna doing? We ask. The thing is, um, when you sow a seed, that's what it takes time. The seed has to sprout, then it becomes a sapling, and it has to grow to a tree, and then tree starts flowering, and the fruit comes, and then we experience that fruit we eat is the result of whatever we did. So it takes some time, and so that is what they are in the different stages. But a person may have stopped committing the sins, but still the results of that sin might come much later. While he's doing the sin, maybe he's enjoying himself because he did something good earlier for which he's enjoying. But he is also doing sinful activities for which he'll have to suffer later. So, as explained in the 20th verse of the 7th chapter, a person
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but doesn't Krishna say that once you start worshipping me, your sins will be washed away?
Yeah, of course. This is talking about a ordinary person, not about a devotee. He's
Okay,
talking
Mataji.
about generally what is happening. Yes?
Oh, yes, Mataji, I'm listening.
Okay. As explained in the 20th verse of the 7th chapter, a person who's completely ended the reactions of all sinful activities and who's fully engaged in pious activities, being freed from the duality of the material world, becomes engaged in devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. In other words, those who are actually engaged in devotional service of the Supreme Lord are already freed from all reactions. So because of those reactions working on us, sometimes so many problems come, so many obstacles, or our own desire is not there. We're covered with, some other amount of ignorance and passion, and we do not even interested in devotional service. All this is a result of sins, whose reactions we are experiencing. But simultaneously, we're also chanting Hare Krishna, trying to do some devotional service as sincerely as we can. Then what happens? All the sins are getting destroyed. And as the sins get destroyed,
Mataji,
then
Hare Krishna. I'm sorry to interrupt, Mataji. Mataji, actually, past time from Ajamila, he's done impious activities when Krishna gave liberation to Ajamil, right, Mataji?
yeah.
But actually, his previous birth, he did many pious activities that which is pleased by Krishna, and where Krishna gave liberation in that birth, he did many impious activities, but still he is liberated, and his soul was accepted by Lord. Mataji, how that impious or else his karma washed away, and
That is
by
what?
his
That is the special thing. Karmas get washed away by only one method. Normally, karmas cannot be washed away by prayaschitta also you can do, like people, they do repentance and then they go to the devtas, they might do something, I'll fast for so many days, I'll do some pujas, like that, and you take away the sinful reaction. That is one way. But that is very temporary, because even though you may take away the sinful reactions, but the desire to sin is still there. So that is no use. Okay, right now I did something, and then I did, say, a person, who's feels like stealing. Okay, there are people like that, right? Kleptomaniac type. I don't know, it's very shocking. But some people have a habitual habit to steal. Now, say some person is like that. Now, he did something. He did a bank robbery. And because of that, so he is undergoing atonement for that. Okay, he went to jail and he's undergoing atonement. But his heart is not cleansed. So The minute he comes out of jail, again he will do one more bank robbery. And again he'll go back to the jail. Again he will do one atonement. So they will release him. Okay, you did atonement, we release you. Again he will do. So this is how it is. When our heart is not cleansed, there's no point in doing atonement, because again we'll do that. Again we'll be punished. Again we'll have to do atonement. So that is why if you do bhakti, then what happens? Completely the heart gets cleansed. So also the result of the past reactions are also removed, and future also we won't feel like doing sins only. So that is why only bhakti can remove from the root, from the roots, from the seed stage to the sapling or the tree or the fruit or the flower, whichever stage our sins is, everything can be completely removed.
Oh, Mataji, is that bhakti is only a solution for
Mercy.
mercy? Oh, okay, okay. Mercy of
Mercy.
Lord, right?
Mercy for what?
Mercy for what devotion we practice, right?
Yes, you can beg for mercy for devotional service. See, if we have, say we have not done much pious activities, okay, and we don't have any much desire to do devotional service. So that time we can beg for mercy from devotees, from the Lord. Please forgive me for whatever I am. Please give me more interest to devotional service. So even though we're not actually supposed to get all that, maybe we were complete rascals in our previous lives, and in this life maybe we didn't even do much or good activities and all that. We never served great sages, or we didn't we didn't even go to the temple. Say we have been brought up, I mean, we are like that. Then even then, if you start chanting Hare Krishna and you beg the Lord, please, now I want to be your devotee, but I have no interest only, please help me, then definitely Krishna will elevate us. It's not based on the past at all. Krishna completely forgets. The minute we go to him and we apologize and we say, I really want to serve you, no more. He will never completely wipe out everything of the past. And then we'll not create any more karmas also, because now we surrender to Krishna and we do whatever he says, whatever will please him, that's what we do. Then there's no more suffering permanently.
Hare Krishna Mataji. I was going to ask one question, but your answer came out now from this explanation only.
Okay. What was the question?
Actually, I was like thinking, if I go and ask Krishna forgiveness, the only thing which comes me down is his smile. That smile attracts so much. But on the inside, I still feel guilty. Has he really forgiven me? Or is it just for my happiness? He said, okay, leave it and all that. So that's what I was thinking.
What if he smiles? What is he doing?
Like this, only the smile is the only one which like calms us down from the inside. We feel okay, he's smiling, that means he's forgiven me. Later I'll think, has he really forgiven me, or was he smiling just for my happiness?
He's smiling you to attract you to come to him.
Krishna
Then no
always
more
smiles,
suffering.
Mataji.
Huh? He's saying, come to me, and then no more suffering. That's it. Go to
Yes,
Krishna,
Mataji.
no more suffering.
Yes, Mataji.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Mataji.
Hari Bol. So, in other words, those who are actually engaged in the devotional service of the Supreme Lord are already freed from all reactions. This statement is confirmed in the Padma Purana. Aprarabdha phalam papam kutam bijam phalonmukam kramenaiva praliyeta Vishnu bhakti ratatmanam. Those who are engaged in the devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, all sinful reactions, whether fructified in the stalk or in the form of a seed, gradually vanish. Therefore, the purifying potency of devotional service is very strong, and it is called Pavitram, Uttamam, the purest. Uttama means transcendental. Tamas means this material world of darkness, and Uttama means that which is transcendental to material activities. Pavitram idam Uttamam. Pavitram, it's pure, it purifies our sins, and it is transcendental. Although sometimes it appears that devotees are engaged just like ordinary men, one who can see and is familiar with devotional service will know that they are not material activities. They're all spiritual and devotional, uncontaminated by the material modes of nature. For example, somebody may be building a temple, okay, and say he's an architect and he's been engaged, I mean, devotee architect, and he's working. So you might think, what is day and night? He's only thinking of, how many bricks to buy, how to engage the labor, what cement to this thing, what is the design, what is the plan, and all the time he's meditating on building, building, building. Now, this is spiritual. That is the things that he works with may not be spiritual, but what is his motivation to do that? So that we can glorify Krishna. In that beautiful temple, we must have a nice altar and Krishna should be there. So that is pure devotional service, right? It is the for whom you do that matters, how you feel. So it's but for a materialist, you may think, oh, these Hare Krishna people, they are also doing same thing like us all the times. They are also engaged in putting up a big building and all that. They're also selling all the time books, or go on the road selling books. They're also big businessmen. They may think like that, but it's not true. Why the books are being sold? It is not to make money. It is so that people should take the book and read Prabhupada's books, then they will be so much benefited. That is the thing, that's the purpose. Because the devotees are not being paid commission for every book you sell, I'll give you some percentage. It's not like that. They are selling it just like that. Maybe the temple as a whole, okay, some little profits, whatever they get will go into maintenance, and we're giving free prasadam, so many things. So it is out of love, a love for Krishna, love for the people, that they should be able to see this knowledge. Then they will be liberated. They'll get so much happiness and peace. So materialists cannot understand the difference. It is said that the execution of devotional service is so perfect that one can perceive the results directly, pratyaksham. This direct result is actually perceived, and we have practical experience that any person who's chanting the holy names of Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, in course of chanting without offenses, feels some transcendental pleasure and very quickly becomes purified of all material contamination. This is actually seen. Furthermore, if one engages not only in hearing, but in trying to broadcast the message of devotional activities as well, or if he engages himself in helping the missionary activities of Krishna consciousness, he gradually feels spiritual progress. This advancement in spiritual life does not depend on any kind of previous education or qualification. The method itself is so pure that by simply engaging in it, one becomes pure. So that is why, even if we don't feel like doing it, we do it with the devotees. Okay, they're all going. Okay, I'll also go with them. On my own, I may not do it. But okay, they're all going. Let me go and help them in some way. And we get purified. And because of that, we'll develop a taste. Oh, I also want to do. That will happen. One devotee, one American boy, he was coming to see Prabhupada for his programs. And then when Prabhupada came, everybody would pay obeisances to him, but he would just stand straight. He didn't feel like paying obeisances. Then one day he asked this, they used to call him Swamiji. Swamiji, everybody else is paying obeisances, but I don't feel like doing it. So is it okay? So Prabhupada said, no, you should, because I don't feel like, so I'm not doing. So he thought that if you don't feel like, you should not be hypocritical and do that. Just like that, everybody is doing, so I will do. No. So he thought he should not do it. So he asked Prabhupada, is this correct? I mean, he just wanted to be sure whether what he's doing is correct or not. Because he could understand that Prabhupada is free from all false ego. Oh, who all are paying obeisances, you didn't pay, so get lost. I'm not going to bother. He's not that sort. So he asked, am I okay? I don't feel like paying obeisance. Is that okay? And Prabhupada said, you pay obeisance, then you'll feel like paying obeisance. So that is Gargamuni Prabhu. So what he did, he paid obeisance, because Prabhupada said like that. He paid obeisance, and then he felt so happy Then he thought, yeah, I want to pay obeisance. It's not like a slave or something. You better pay obeisance or you'll get hit on the back. It's not like that. Because you pay obeisance, you feel so happy, right? Surrendering, being submissive to Krishna, to his pure devotees, gives us happiness. So, so this advancement in spiritual life does not depend on any kind of previous education or qualification that we see. Chinese, Russian, Japanese, African, and what previous education they've had in Krishna consciousness or spiritual life. They don't know ABC of our Vedic knowledge. They don't even know Rama, Krishna, nothing they know. And still, they become elevated in Krishna consciousness. They start wearing clothes like us, I mean, like Vedic culture, more than Indians also. And they give up everything. And we only want to serve Krishna night and day. Westerners, how they are, something they like all the time they will do. Right? In India, we'll do, and then we'll do other things also. But their nature is like that, mode of passion, they like whatever they like, they'll do too much of it. Like, for example, they'll say, they'll find out. Yeah, nowadays we see more non-Indians, yeah, in Krishna consciousness. So, like in America, for example, they discovered that carrot juice is good for the health, vitamin A, and then it helps in the eyesight and so many other benefits. So they started drinking carrot juice night, day, morning, afternoon, night. Keep on drinking glasses because it's very good. Then they found, oh, it's not good if you have too much of it. So they stopped it. So because of the mode of passion, they take too much of it, but they're very sincere when they do it. And Indians are the opposite. They'll just do a little touch and go, enough. They don't want to commit themselves. That is there. Tamoguna in us also. But generally devotees, because many people, of course, Indians are also a lot of mode of goodness, because we have this, our culture, spiritual culture. Everybody knows about these basic things, at least, that we are eternal, we are soul. At least we have heard somewhere here and there. So, and we are more balanced that way, we just don't rush and go and do. I give up everything and I'll do. And then after some time, what happens? They again are lured by the material nature. So then they went back also. Many of them in the beginning, because the beginning, we feel so enthusiastic. So we want to surrender everything. They did that, and then they fully, night and day, they would be doing devotional activities. That is how everything spread very fast. Prabhupada gave credit to his American disciples because they're so passionate. And so he really used them to do all services. Indians means at those days. Nowadays, Indians are also become very, very, very dynamic. Before, we were again very content and not, they're not our nature. It was not our passionate nature. But he made Americans do all those kind of jobs, dynamism, passionate. So that is what. But and so when we do devotional service, bit by bit, we get purified, then we'll be stable. Permanently, we are going to this thing. Not suddenly you surrender and suddenly you think like a shooting star. Oh, now I want to give up everything. After a few months, oh, it's too much. I can't. Okay, I'll come back. It shouldn't be like that. Step by step, we go. And so we see that the Westerners didn't require any education or qualification. Simply, Krishna consciousness is so pure. Association with a pure devotee. Prabhupada made them so advanced. Many of them were very, very advanced, are very advanced, Prabhupada disciples and all, because they had association of Prabhupada. He initiated them, and his association, just listening to his lecture, we feel so purified, or seeing his video. You can imagine if you see him in person and he's interacting with you, he's looking at you and telling you things personally, and just seeing his pure form. And definitely they would have all got the benefit of that. Devotional service is so potent that simply by engaging in the activities of devotional service, one becomes enlightened without a doubt. A practical example of this can be seen in the previous life of Narada, who in that life happened to be the son of a maid servant. He had no education, nor was he born into a high family. But when his mother was engaged in serving great devotees, Narada also became engaged. And sometimes, in the absence of his mother, he would serve the great devotees himself. So Narada was staying, his mother was a maid servant. And mother was a maid servant in a Gurukul. Of course, Prabhupada keeps appearing. Even now he appears in devotees' dreams. Especially if you start reading Prabhupada's books, then he will appear in your dream. Definitely. Mm-hmm.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Yes.
Yeah, that was my question, Mataji. Thank you so much for answering.
Okay. So Narada Muni, his mother was working in a Gurukula, where all she was working there, and the sages came and stayed there during the Chaturmasya because they don't travel. And at that time, whenever she was doing services, washing their plates, washing their room, Narada Muni, also a small boy, he used to go there, sit there and hear whatever they are talking. He was a very submissive, very nice, gentle boy, not naughty and all that. He was listening to their lectures, and then only once he requested them, "Can I eat your Mahaprasad from your plate?" And they said, "Okay." And he ate that. And by eating that Mahaprasad, his heart was completely cleansed. And he could understand all spiritual knowledge. He became so elevated, Narada Muni. So Narada describes, then in this verse, Narada describes his previous life to his disciple Vyasadeva. So he became, because of those servants, he became purified devotee. With their association, he became completely cleansed. As he went on eating, so he kept on eating the Mahaprasad remnants. He gradually became as pure-hearted as the sages. Just having the Mahaprasadam cleans our hearts. Every day we must put chunks of Mahaprasadam into the mouth, then we'll become purified. The great devotees relished the taste of unceasing devotional service to the Lord by hearing and chanting, and Narada gradually developed the same taste. Narada says further, by associating with the sages, Narada got the taste for hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord, and he developed a great desire for devotional service. So if one is engaged simply in the acts of devotional service, everything is revealed to him automatically. And he can understand. This is called pratyaksha, directly perceived. So doing devotional service is much more important than even studying all the Shastra. So imagine you study, of course, you should know he was listening to the knowledge also, and he was rendering service. Because his mother was also doing service, he also must have helped. And what happens simply in the acts of devotional service, everything is revealed to him automatically, and he can understand. That's the amazing thing. Even small children, they understand so much, and we wonder how these people, they've not had any experience of life even. But when you tell them about all these things, totally and it's so nice to hear them talk the philosophy. My God, being so small, the small and all is only in this life. Now they've been souls through so many lifetimes. They are eternal souls. So they, even though in a baby's body or child's body, they can understand spiritual knowledge very well. So and then dharmyam means the path of religion. Narada was actually a son of a maid servant. He had no opportunity to go to school. He was simply assisting his mother, and fortunately his mother rendered some service to the devotees. The child Narada also got the opportunity, and simply by association achieved the goal of all religion. Highest goal of all religion is devotional service. So religious people generally do not know that the highest perfection of religion is the attainment of devotional service. What do they think? Perfection of religion, normally what do people think? Sannyasi, someone who has renounced everything. That is the goal of life, is mukti, liberation, to give up, to be detached from this material world and be liberated. That they think is the goal.
Sorry to interrupt. Mataji, can you please explain me devotional service briefly? Uh,
What?
by devotional service, what is meant by devotional service? By which Krishna is pleased? Can you please guide me about this?
What do you mean by devotional service?
Yes, Mataji, by which Krishna is so pleased. And what is the thought process or else process to reach pleasing Krishna? That way we need, Mataji. Can you please guide us?
Yeah, okay. I didn't elaborate on that. The processes of bhakti are 9. Shravanam, first, hearing about Krishna, hearing the holy names. Kirtanam, chanting the names of Krishna or glorifying Krishna's leelas and about him. Shravanam, Kirtanam. Then by doing these two, we get Smaranam. We can remember Krishna. Whenever, all the time, we should remember him. Smaranam. Then Vandanam. Vandanam is glorifying the Lord. Then Archanam is worshipping the Lord, and Archanam Dasyam is rendering service to the Lord. So I missed something. Dasyam, Sakyam, big friends. These Sakyam and Atma Nivedanam are in the elevated stages where you get rasa, you get a taste, and then you think, I'm a friend of Krishna's, you feel. Or Atma Nivedanam, you surrender your soul completely to Krishna. So those are in the higher levels of bhakti. But all the other 7 are what we can do. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, Vandanam, Archanam, Padasevanam, and Dasyam. 7 we can do.
Okay, Mataji. Thank you so much. Navavidha Bhakti, right, Mataji?
What?
Navavidha Bhakti, right, Mataji?
Yes, Navavidha Bhakti.
Oh, okay, Mataji. Thank you so
Hare
much.
Krishna,
Hare
Mataji.
Krishna.
Yes.
Were we talking about Narad Muni when you were explaining the purport just some time back?
Yeah.
Narad Muni, now, how did he attain the transcendental position, Mataji, to communicate with the gods and travel all over the universe and all?
So that's what, in this life, as the maidservant's son, his mother died at 6 only, when he was just 6. Due to snake bite, she went to do something in the night, and snake bit her and she died. So then Narada was just all alone. So that time, he would have felt very sad because she was the only one for him. And then she died. So then he thought, okay, now I'll surrender completely to Krishna. And he became like a sannyasi, wandering mendicant. He started traveling everywhere. And he even saw Krishna. He heard Krishna's voice once. And then he wanted to hear again. He said, no, Narada, don't try to see me. Now, just to increase he saw him once. Just to increase your desire for me, I appeared. But now you have to purify yourself. So in that life, he was a sannyasi. And then what happened? When he died, he immediately became the sage Narada, transcendental body, who can go everywhere, go to the Vaikunthas, be with Narayana, and then come here. He can go any loka. And nobody objects. Everybody receives Narada Muni very well because he's he's like this thing.
Dev Rishi.
Yeah, Dev Rishi. Yeah, he lives in the heavenly planets, and he lives in which loka? Not Swarga loka, Siddha loka, or so he lives there, and that's why it's called Dev Rishi. But he's always traveling and giving bhakti to everyone.
Dhanwan Pranam, Mataji.
Yeah. So he's saying one who's in association with great acharyas, even if he is not educated or has never studied the Vedas, can become familiar with all the knowledge necessary for realization. That is the amazing thing. So, there was once a big Pandit scholar. He went to, who was that? Bankim Chandra Chatterjee, or one of those big Pandits. They went to Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and he wanted to have a discourse with him. He wanted to ask him some questions and all that. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur knew this guy is very proud of his scholarship and all. So first he told him, go and wash the pots in the kitchen and come then. So he was shocked, Nobody spoke to him like that. And he thought, what is this got to do with study? What all this knowledge? I came to discuss with him, and he's sending me to wash pots. But anyway, he cannot defy Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So he quietly went to the kitchen and washed the pot nicely. He said, remove all the black thing, soot, which is stuck to the back, remove it. Because as we clean all the soot, it also cleanses the heart. So he did that job. Then he said, okay, Guru Swamiji, I have finished. He came, shall we discuss now? He said, whatever question you have now, you go and ask that gardener there, that devotee gardener, go and ask him. And that was another big shock. What is this? Illiterate person, he's asking me to go and ask him. So he went there, and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur asked me to ask you this question. Can you please answer? And that devotee gave such a wonderful answer that, I don't know, Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar or Bankim Chandra Chatterjee. So one of them. So he was shocked. He thought, how this illiterate person can reply so nicely. That's because he was doing sincerely his job in the, as a service to Krishna, service to his Guru, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So all the knowledge, the true knowledge, even though he is not educated, by his association with Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he also knew all the knowledge. So that is what he is saying. It doesn't depend on all that. Even if one is not educated or has never studied the Vedas, can become familiar with all the knowledge necessary for realization. Yeah, maybe he will not become a Pandit that he can quote all these verses and speak on the Upanishads and the Vedas, and all. That may not be, but he knows the essence of all of that. No, anybody can go and sit and talk with him. He will be able to nicely smash all false theories. That he can do. So, and then Susukam, process of devotional service. Okay, should we stop now? Yeah. Okay. Utkarshini Mataji, do you have some questions?
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Mataji, you are helping me to lot to understand Krishna, Mataji. Actually, my chanting is going very well before I was doing Mataji. It was something going very mechanical. I'm a bit okay and satisfied now, Mataji, with your association. Thank you. Thanks a lot, Mataji.
Haribol. Are you chanting on your own or you're chanting with the group?
Mataji, I'm chanting on my own, Mataji.
Okay. Anyway, you're feeling better now?
Yes,
That's
Mataji,
good.
I'm feeling satisfied, Mataji. Before I was doing that somewhat mechanically, that was going, Mataji. I'm feeling little betterment, Mataji. I'm trying to better. As I got your association, I can tell that I have a little bit transformed, Mataji. Thank you so much, Mataji.
Haribol. Very nice. Okay. So we will chant. I don't know, Utkarshini Mataji, do you want to ask questions, or tomorrow I will ask you all? Who was the spiritual master of who? Who was the spiritual master of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Ishwara Puri.
Ishwar Puri.
Yes. Okay. Now let us chant. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi. Please unmute and chant.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna
Chaitanya
Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Sri
Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare
Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare
Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Rama
Rama
Rama,
Rama,
Hare Hare,
Hare
Hare Krishna, Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna
Hare
Krishna,
Hare,
Hare Hare,
Hare Rama,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Hare
Rama
Rama,
Rama,
Rama
Hare
Rama,
Hare,
Hare Hare,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna, Krishna
Krishna Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Hare,
Hare,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Rama
Rama
Rama,
Rama,
Hare
Hare
Hare, Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Hare,
Hare,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Rama
Rama
Rama,
Rama,
Hare
Hare
Hare,
Hare.
Hare
Hare
Krishna, Hare
Krishna, Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Hare,
Hare,
Hare Rama,
Rama,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Rama
Rama
Rama, Hare Hare, Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna, Krishna
Krishna,
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 Hare
Hare
Hare,
Hare,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama
Rama
Rama,
Rama,
Hare
Hare
Hare,
Hare,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Hare,
Hare,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Rama
Rama
Rama,
Rama,
Hare
Hare
Hare,
Hare,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Hare,
Hare,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Rama
Rama
Rama,
Rama,
Hare
Hare
Hare,
Hare,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare Hare,
Hare Hare,
Hare Rama, Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna
Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Hare,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Hare
Rama
Rama,
Rama,
Rama
Hare
Rama,
Hare,
Hare Hare,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Hare,
Hare,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Rama
Rama
Rama,
Rama,
Hare
Hare
Hare,
Hare,
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna
Hare
Krishna,
Hare,
Hare Hare,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Rama
Rama
Rama,
Rama,
Hare
Hare
Hare,
Hare,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Hare,
Hare,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Hare
Hare
Rama, Rama
Rama,
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 Hare
Hare
Hare,
Hare,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Hare,
Hare,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Rama
Rama
Rama,
Rama,
Hare
Hare
Hare,
Hare,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare
Hare
Hare,
Hare,
Hare Rama,
Rama,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Rama
Rama
Rama,
Rama,
Hare
Hare
Hare,
Hare,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Hare,
Hare,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Rama
Rama
Rama,
Rama,
Hare
Hare
Hare,
Hare.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Okay.
Krishna,
Uh,
Mataji.
I wanted to tell all
Ram.
of you that Friday, that is day after tomorrow, is Balram Jayanti.
Okay.
Okay, so instead of the class, we are going to have celebration in this center. If those of you who can come physically can come there, or in the Zoom also we'll be having Arati, Kirtan, Katha. Okay, Prasadam you won't be able to eat, but you can see the deities and a few bhajans. So you can
At
take
what
part
time,
in
Mataji?
from 6 to 8:30.
6 to 8. Oh, okay.
Okay. Okay, mostly 6 to 8 because 8 to 8:30 will be prasadam. So
Okay.
6 to 8 will be there.
It will be on the same Zoom link, ma'am?
Yeah, same Zoom
Okay.
link.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
So join at 6. And I will send you the invitation also.
Okay,
Okay.
Mataji.
So anyway, we'll meet tomorrow. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha Srimad Bhagavad Gita Granth Raj ki jai. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhagavata Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha.
Jai.
Very good.